That's right.
Gina, back in 1996, a guitar-playing 10th grader at Toledo Christian High School in Ohio named Matt Hammitt met a fellow classmate named Chris Roman, and together they formed a band named Sanctus Real. Today, after 9 studio albums, 6 with the record label Sparrow Records, Sanctus Real is one of the hottest Christian rock bands in the world. Their latest release, Pieces of a Real Heart, features several hits that include the song that many are calling their signature hit, and it's our favorite, isn't it? Lead Me.
I love that song. Love it.
We couldn't be happier to welcome to the program the lead singer, a real live rock star right here, Matt Hammitt. Matt, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
How do you like being called a real live rock star, Matt?
Hey, you can call me anything. I'm laid back.
Thanks so much for coming on the show today. We appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm glad to see that you still have power down there. I understand Ohio got hit pretty hard.
Yeah. My back still hurts from shoveling this morning.
Oh. Don't you have people for that, man?
Yeah, I like to shovel my own snow, Keeps me down to earth, right?
Nice. That's great.
We got a lot. We got hit, but we're doing great.
Now, you have been writing music since high school, yes?
Yeah. Since I was 16 years old, and wrote my first song way back then. It was called Coffee of Life, and it was terrible.
Did it make an album or no?
Coffee of Life.
It actually made our first audio cassette. So it goes way back. But yeah, we've been writing for a long time.
Now, back then, who were some of your influences? Who inspired you musically?
Wow. There's so many. At that point, I was really just kind of getting into a lot of the Christian rock music, so it was kind of the time that DC Talk and Audio Adrenaline, Youth Boys, all those guys were really kind of at the peak of their careers, and they're up kind of paving the way for bands like us to come along. And so, in terms of choosing the avenue of writing Christian music and making Christian music and knowing that we'd have an outlet to minister that way, those bands really, I think, were the guys we were looking at.
Well, one of the things that is really you do so well is you write. You write beautifully. I've read your blogs. I've read both the one for your band and also the one that you have for your son Bowen. That we will talk about that later. But your songwriting is beautiful, and I always wonder, where's that inspiration coming from? What do you use to? What is your muse?
Yeah, it seems the songs that really touch people in a certain way deeply are the songs that came from that deep well of life experience. I really write best when I'm in a moment of a moment of life. It's really hitting me hard. Whether it's good or whether it's hurtful or contemplative, whatever it may be. Those are really the moments when I can really pour my heart out. I never really walk into a room with a guy or anything and say, hey, let's write a song and just try to go for it. Rarely, it's usually in those quiet moments, usually within days, sometimes within minutes of when I've experienced something that's really, tugging on my heart.
And for you, what comes first? Is it lyrics?
It's really kind of both. They kind of come together for me. And so I actually struggle more in trying to put lyrics to music that's already written or a melody that's, kind of already existing when I'm writing with somebody else, because I find that they kind of come all as one for me, which is really kind of a strange thing.
Wow.
Yeah, that's cool, actually. You usually hear people say one or the other. They've got the idea for the song, the concept, or the lyrics are in there. Or some other people will say, well, I hear a song, I hear a tune or whatever, a melody, and that's the thing that gets them going. But
now, tell us about Lead Me, because that is red hot right now.
Yeah,
is that becoming your Hey Jude?
I think so, yeah. Seems like it anyhow.
Oh, it's a phenomenal song. Can you tell us a little bit about the origin of that?
Sure, yeah. That was one of those songs where it was, within hours of an experience that I wrote the first draft of that song. My wife and I, a couple of years ago, we're kind of getting to that place in our marriage where I think for the first, we've been married for 9.5 years now, but for the first 7 years of our marriage, we were struggling to learn how to communicate about certain issues. You know, every husband and wife kind of have the hot topics, you know, the things that come up that you don't know how to, or you struggle to communicate well about without tension. And for us, you know, it was hard to communicate well without arguing and without getting out of hand and just, you know, getting so upset and learning how to resolve those issues. And we finally got to a place where we had to make some tough decisions because there was so much tension between us that, you know, we just really needed to decide if we were going to start, you know, fighting for a marriage or keep fighting each other, because that wasn't going to work anymore. And so we decided to start fighting for our marriage. And one of the things my wife really told me, she sat me down one day and she just appealed to me and she said, you know, I need you to be a better leader to me and invest more in me spiritually and emotionally. And man, it hit me really hard because I just realized there was a lot of things that I had intended to do as a husband and as a father, you know, good quality time that you intend to invest spiritually and emotionally in leading, you know, your family. But I'd realized really that I hadn't been disciplined in doing that, so my intentions didn't really mean anything. So that was the afternoon, really just pouring my heart out in prayer before God. I ended up, you know, pouring my wife's heart and my heart and what I felt was the Lord speaking, you know, to us into that song. And out of it came really a milestone moment for me that I can clearly see, a defining moment when our marriage just felt like it really took a turn and led us into this incredible season that we're now in. And then the song Lead Me, Man, came out of that moment. And
what a great opportunity.
Yeah.
It seems from this vantage point that, you know, hearing that story, both your personal life and probably your professional songwriting life probably turned on a dime with just that effort, with that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. You know,
now,
it definitely opened some huge doors.
You guys, the Pieces of a Real Heart, you guys are some of the best at taking advantage of social media, social networking stuff that's out there, the Twitter, the Facebook, the blogs. Is it a true story that Pieces of a Real Heart was you held a public vote for it, for the name?
Well, yeah, you know, there was that name, Pieces of a Real Heart. It was a little elusive, you know. We were kind of like, well, man, what does that mean, you know? And I kind of had a feeling of what it meant, you know, to me when I suggested it. And then there were a couple other simple options that we were milling through. So we just kind of brought it down to a vote with Facebook and Twitter. And Pieces of a Real Heart won.
That's great. That's great. Well, it's nice to have fans invested a little bit.
Yeah, well, and it does seem a little bit prophetic in a way.
It does.
Because of what came out of that. It's called Pieces of a Real Heart, and just, let's see, September 9th, I believe it was, of 2010, you have a son born with a congenital heart defect.
That's right, yeah.
Bowen,
so,
little Bowen.
You know, so, you know, on March 9th, that album released. On April 20th, we found out April 12th, we found out in our 20-week ultrasound that our son, you know, is going to be born with, I mean, more or less half a heart. So it was crazy to us that, you know, I mean, then even now, you know, September 9th and the whole journey since Bowen's been born, that album was called Pieces of a Real Heart.
Right.
And, you know, there's a broken heart kind of on the front of it, and songs like Dear Heart, Keep My Heart Alive, and then lyrics all throughout just about heart issues. And so
every song has a heart moment. And I've noticed actually there were hearts in other albums that you've had too on the covers, and it seems to be sort of a theme throughout your, you know, at least the artwork. And I'm not sure. I'm sure the message is too.
Yeah, it has. It always has been. And you know, all I can say is that was just God. I really believe it was just God just stirring in me, writing lyrics, kind of preparing me. You know, at least believe on this last album that was God really preparing me for what I was going to go through.